Welcome back to the CoDaKrew podcast, the show where we analyze the latest storylines, updates, and drama of the footballing world. This is episode 2 of our 2025-26 Premier League predictions, and if you don't already know, this is our scoring system. We get 1 point for each correct prediction, win, loss, or draw, an additional point for getting the correct goal difference, and if you get the exact scoreline right, that is a third point. Our predictions from last week, by the way, are going to be on screen now. And as you can see, Swapnil is off to a strong start, leading me 10-7. But without further ado, is the new United hype sustainable? Are Man City actually back? And in a heavyweight clash between Newcastle and Liverpool at St. James Park, who will come out on top?
Yeah, and I know everyone's going to want to get to that Liverpool-Newcastle game, but we'll leave that for a bit later. For now, we are going to start with Friday night lights at the London Stadium as West Ham host their crosstown rivals Chelsea.
Yeah, last week we were talking about how Chelsea's biggest weakness is arguably their center backs, and man, it is not looking good. So Levi Colwill already injured, Tosin Adarabioyo seemingly out for this match, and the third replacement, the third guy, is like Badiashile, right? He's out too. So I don't know who they're gonna line up as that second center back in this match, but whoever it is, it's gonna be someone who is relatively inexperienced and is probably going to be relatively error prone. And given that, West Ham have a man named Jared Bowen, who is incredible at breaking systems defensively and just dribbling past, center backs one-on-one, I think West Ham will try to take advantage of this, and this will be West Ham's key to trying to win this match.
Yeah, I mean, they had Ashley Pong stepping in for Colwill, right? And
Right.
honestly, I thought that the defensive side was decently encouraging for them. I mean, he's 19 years old, just coming out of the academy. Pretty sure it's his first team game, right? Because there wouldn't be an opportunity like this. Colwill's obviously great for Chelsea. But I think he did good to start. What I'm more concerned about is the offense, and the underlying numbers aren't the worst. It's like 1.81 XG, I think. A couple late chances, but I don't know. The finishing just was not great throughout the game. And 0-0 draw after winning the Club World Cup is not how you want to start things. I feel like the fans would have had much bigger hopes for them to start off the season.
Yeah, not just a 0-0 draw, but like what should have been a 1-0 loss with that as a free kick that was only called offside because we're not called offside. It was only called off
It
because I
was
think it's like a new rule
Gahey
in the
was
Premier
next
League.
to the line. Yeah.
Yeah, that's like straight up. That's like a new rule they introduced this offseason. Like I'm sure Mark Gahey like probably doesn't even know that the rule exists. So Chelsea really got lucky there. I wanted to say though, with the center back thing, I do think that like defensively speaking, Chelsea were actually pretty solid. But I want to say that Ashton like had one or two giveaways that like really should not have happened in my opinion. I think if like West Ham get lucky if Jared Bowen is there, then that could potentially be an issue for them. And meanwhile, for like the offense, that's where I'm actually less concerned for Chelsea. I know that yes, against Palace, they did not really capitalize on the chance as well. But you have to look at it from like a relative lens, right? Last season, my biggest concern for Chelsea was that it felt like at times on the offense, instead of playing as a team, it was like individual people playing one by one. And say what you want about the offense against Palace, we can at least agree that that's not what we saw. Like we actually saw Joao Pedro actually like pushing back, dropping inside, contributing to the build-up play instead of Jackson just like being brain dead in the box, like doing nothing, waiting for the ball to come to him, and then when it does, like he misses anyways. Like Chelsea has actually gotten a lot better, I think, in terms of dynamicism. And the one issue I would say is that now they're maybe like too dynamic. They're playing too fast, and I think that's what cost them against Palace. Like Palace is so defensively stable that if you just try to like lambast them, or sorry, if you try to like overload them with like wave after wave of attack, they're just like too solid. But West Ham isn't solid. Like West Ham's defense is not good. I mean, we saw Sunderland break them apart. So I feel like if they do that again, they might actually just be able to overwhelm, West Ham's defense. And I think the strategy might work.
Yeah, and obviously West Ham's problems were not just defensive. They were pretty in control to start off the game, had 64% of the ball, ended up creating 0.55 or 0.56 xg. It was something super low, lower than Sunderland's, I know that much. And Graham Potter said afterwards he was very clear that they failed at the basics of the game. Like when Maenda got that opening goal and it was against a couple of defenders that were quite a few inches taller than he was. He got that past them, and so they were just not getting the basics right on the defensive end. Two-headed goals conceded, I'm pretty sure. A soft late counter. I know they were playing away, but like you could have done so much better. And I feel like there's an identity crisis. I don't know. Potter, he wants slow possession football. Bowen and Paquetá are looking kind of cramped in it. And the defense is just getting torn apart by Sunderland, of all teams, the newly promoted team that got in through the playoff. If this is what you're doing against the playoff team, you're going to have some real problems against an established team like Chelsea. It's not
Right.
looking good for them.
I mean, like even like I think Hermanson's a bit at fault as well. Like that third goal, I feel like he easily should have saved. Not that like it wasn't a good strike by Isidore, but I think he should have saved that. And I would also say like on the attack, maybe I'm being a bit too nice to Bowen, but I think he isn't the problem. I think it's everyone else. Like there were quite a few times where Bowen just dribbles past a bunch of defenders, sets up like a basically on a silver platter a ball for like Fulkrug or Paqueta or whoever, but then they just like screw it up somehow. So that's what I'm mainly worried about. I think if we were just looking at the Bowen battle, so to speak, like I'm sure he will be seen favorably, or at least West Ham will see that matchup favorably between him and any given center back. But it's more so like you just can't rely on him on its own. He's not like a striker-minded type player, if you know what I mean. Like he's more of an Anthony Gordon type, and so I think it's going to be questionable whether or not West Ham will be able to just rely on their front three and actually get good chances converted against the Chelsea squad. The other like avenue they have, I would say, is Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Like he was quite good for them last year. He was pretty quiet against Sunderland, surprisingly, but I think he is like their second strategy, so to speak. But the issue for that is that yes, he's good offensively, but the person who's marking him is going to be one of the best 1v1 defensive fullbacks in the Premier League in Marco Correa. So how much can Wan-Bissaka like realistically do? And then besides those two, it feels like yeah, West Ham does not have an identity. They don't have a clinical striker. They're just missing in a lot of positions.
Yeah, I don't know. If you just look at like Chelsea's structured build up, Maresca he can get his fullbacks to tuck in, free up Palmer Neto to probe the half spaces. You have Pedro there who is just dragging defenders around into super awkward positions. Exactly the kinds of rotations that Sunderland was able to expose West Ham with. And I'm sorry, it's not looking very good to West Ham. You lost by 3 goals to a team that just got promoted, and now you're playing a top four side, a side that they haven't broken into the top three, but they are consistently fourth place in the league. And I just think you're going to get absolutely obliterated. And I remember last episode we were talking about how West Ham might need to think about set pieces against Sunderland. And you were saying, like, if they have to think about set pieces, they're getting relegated. It's looking like that could happen right now.
Yeah,
That's
that's
their
pretty
outlook,
bad.
man.
Getting
I'm just,
absolutely dominated by like the promotion playoff squad
yeah.
is just not a good look.
I don't know what to say, man. It's not looking good for them. I'll let you predict first, but like bad,
Yeah, look, I
bad.
think I'm
This is
just
gonna
gonna
be a
keep
bad
this one
showing.
pretty simple. I think West Ham's disastrous start at the Stadium of Light is a sign of how the season is about to go for them, as we've said. Sluggish defending, offense that's just reliant on one player, being second to every duel. Like, I know they're gonna be back in the London Stadium, and so I think it will be a little bit better because playing in the Stadium of Light is obviously very difficult. But like we were saying, Chelsea is such a complete and dangerous side. Their flaws look minuscule in comparison to West Ham's. So I don't think this match will be too different. I'll just be a little bit nicer. I'll say they'll do marginally better than they did against Sunderland. And I'm going to give them a 2-0 loss. Chelsea's going to win this one 2-0 rather than 3-0 for me.
Oh, this is a bad start.
Yeah. It's just
Oh
like,
no, it's okay. So I obviously West Ham can't afford another passive showing. The crowd is going to demand some energy, but their current style just makes them look toothless. And Chelsea, for all their misses against Palace, created plenty. And when that happens consistently, goals are bound to follow eventually, right? I think there will be a cagey first half. Chelsea will carve through in the second, and West Ham are just going to be on the back foot at that point. Pedro can drag a CB wide, like I was talking about. Palmer can slide into finish. I could see a goal from Pedro himself, but I don't see much coming from West Ham. And we're getting off to the same start that we did last episode because I also have a 2-0.
absolute horror because the thing is when this happens, right, we agree on everything and then there's like one difference
There's
and
one
it
game.
goes down
Yeah.
to Leeds vs Everton and then like Tarkowski like concedes a penalty and I just get cooked. So hopefully things go differently this time, but
We'll
I
see.
don't like what I'm seeing.
Hopefully,
But
some more differences.
that being said, next match I think it's going to be a bit more interesting. We have two. I think both teams are actually pretty competent based on the first match so far, and it's going to be Manchester City vs Tottenham.
Yeah, I mean, City, they opened with a rout. Let's not sugarcoat things. It was a 4-0 rout of Wolves. A result that it looked routine for them, honestly. Like, you have Holland bagging his fourth straight match day one brace, with help from Reinders, who ran the show with a goal, an assist, 80 plus touches. I think only 8 Nuri and Nico Gonzalez had more than him. Wolves did get some chances, and I think Pep said the second half wasn't perfect. Though 4-0 is, I don't think you can argue too much with that result, right? And City have now won 14 of their past 15 season openers. And the way the players linked up should give the fans real optimism that their chemistry and their good form can continue post De Bruyne, post Walker. They have the roster to keep things going for the next few seasons.
Yeah, I was worried about what was going to happen post KDB, but like Tiani Reinders as well as Ryan Cherky have really fit in that role very well. Reinders was incredible on the ball, like dribbling past defenders like it was nothing. Amazing long ball finish. He basically created another goal that I guess he doesn't get on the score sheet for. It was the first one, and he was just all around brilliant. Same thing for Turkey, also brilliant on the ball, also got a great long ball goal, and I feel like these guys, again, it's just one game. I don't want to extrapolate too much, but they looked like they had the playmaking ability of a Kevin De Bruyne, of a Rodri. For example, Rodri still being injured, by the way. And if anything, like Tiani Reinders, I think is better on the ball than Rodri. I wouldn't say Turkey's better on the ball than De Bruyne, but I think he's fitting that bill as well, pretty solidly. So I think yeah, City's new transfers, they've looked very good so far. Obviously, they've had the Club World Cup to get some extra training in to understand the system better. But I think this is their first like real, I guess like real Premier League experience like showing, and I think we're getting a lot of information off of that. And so yeah, I think like City are sort of like Liverpool in a sense where you can have the best tactical system. Like Frank's 4-4-2 defensively is so tough to break down. But like if you just have Rangers pop off or Turkey pop off or whoever, there's nothing you can do tactically to stop that. You just have to pray that they have an off day, and like that's what Tottenham's gonna have to try to do.
Yeah, and I mean Tottenham, they looked sharp in their debut as well, in Thomas Frank's Premier League debut. Eased past Burnley 3-0. Richarlison looked strong again, had a brace. One of those goals was a scissor kick. It looked great for sure. He passed the eye test, and Brennan Johnson added the third. Kudus ran the right flank, and you have that young midfield trio, Gray, Sar, Bergval, who definitely impressed with their energy. The thing is, Spurs, if I'm not mistaken, have not won in their last 3 visits to the Etihad. They have problems with City. To be fair, it is Man City. Everyone's got issues with them. Uh, but it's 3
I could
0
have sworn didn't they
versus.
beat City like 4-0 or like last season? Or am I
Was that.
hallucinating?
Oh, maybe that wasn't League, though. 4-0? Wait, no, wasn't that the. Was that. Hold
Oh, are
on.
you talking about League?
Oh,
I don't know.
yeah.
Oh, you mean League? Okay, my bad, my
Oh,
bad.
yeah, okay. No, no, okay, maybe that stat's fucked then. But anyways, it's City, and Tottenham scored 3 against the promoted team Burnley, but City scored 4 against Wolves. And so again, it's one game it's hard to go off of, but City are looking the better team. And it's Pep Guardiola, man. What are you going to do? They'll have a tough time.
Yeah. I mean, okay, to be fair, like I can actually say similar things to Kudus that I'm saying for Rangers and Turkey. I mean, we've talked before about how good he is one on the ball, like dribbling past defenders, cutting inside. But that match against Wilfred Charleston against Burnley, it shows that he's also an incredible crosser, and he knows how to find aerial threats and put balls into the mixer. And I think that's going to be an interesting dynamic as well. Like if Richarlison is able to just get aerial chances, I know his finishing on the ground is not good, but we've already known that he is good in the air at finishing, and he's shown it again. He's like bringing back Samba style World Cup 2022 as finishes here against Burnley. I also think there's an element of what can you do in that situation. I think like if Kudus just gets a ball in, Richarlison happens to be there. There's nothing you can really do to stop that, and so I think yeah, Tottenham do have like avenues for attack that are very strong here. Another one that we haven't talked about yet is like through Sar. the counter attack, like where you push up to a four up, with the wing backs and with Sar like pushing up to face Richarlison or Solanke, depending on whoever's starting. That's also very deadly. Like Sar is really good at being a progressive passer in transition. He's good at getting the wingers into the ball, and I think there's also an element of like if Tottenham are able to, deal with counters, deal in transition, I'm not sure how City's like high up pushed wingbacks can deal with that. I know they use the offside trap uh against Wolves to an extent, but I think when you're doing a counter-attacking system, when you have your wingbacks or not wingers rather actually starting like relatively further back, it's gonna be harder for City to use that to their advantage.
Yeah, and I actually did just look it up. The 4-0, I knew about that. Surprisingly, it was at the Etihad. I thought that was the Hotspur Stadium. But then again, this is like relegation side Man City we're talking about at the start of last season. So this is a different team we've got now. I'm pretty confident they will not fall into that pit of despair
But yeah, this
again.
this is stay humble Man City we're talking about.
Right. So I don't think it'll be a 4-0 for Tottenham anytime soon. That's the best result they're going to get against City for a while. Now, speaking of Tottenham, though, they did show real signs of life under Frank in their opener, but Burnley gave them time and space that they will not get at the Etihad. City's front-to-back press is relentless, and Gray is going to be under constant pressure trying to link the midfield to the attack. The flip side is Spurs do have weapons that can hurt City in moments. You have Kudus' unpredictability, Richarlison's got good movement, and you can get quick diagonals into space behind the fullbacks. But City, I think, is going to dominate most of the ball. If Spurs can ride the pressure and spring quickly when they get their chances, they can make it a game, but it's going to be very tough for them. And I'm just going to say, I think City edge it. Not without a scare, but someone like Richarlison could pounce on a half chance. But I think Holland, Reinders, their link up is just so great. They've already clicked. We saw it in that first game. And I think City's depth and midfield control will retilt the balance for them. So I'm going to say they win 2-1 against Tottenham.
All right, well you'll be glad to know that our scorelines are not the same for this match. So it looks like hopefully we're not going to have that Leeds Everton situation where it all comes down to the last day. But for my prediction, I think I'm generally on the same wavelength as you in that like just because of City's individual quality, I think they're just gonna be able to edge Tottenham. They just have better players. Frank's system I think is actually really solid, but again, there's not much you can do if Reinders is like having a good day, if Silva is having a day, etc., etc. Like City have plenty of players like that. They'll get a lasting supply of chances throughout the match. Whereas yes, Kudus can supply something to Richarlison. Yes, Maresca can find a counter and play through that. But you're not going to have those chances as consistently as City. Like you're almost relying on, I don't want to say City's mistakes, but you're relying on like opportunities to do that. Whereas Silva and like Rangers can make opportunities out of nothing. So because of that, I think City will just get more chances, and I'm going to give them a 3-1 win.
Yeah, all right. Wins for City. That's not too surprising, I guess. So in that case, I guess we can just go on to our next game, and that'll be Bournemouth and Wolves, who after each losing to a Big Six team, they play out a match that will be a litmus test for their actual seasons.
Fair enough. I mean, I would say these are two teams that, obviously, like you're saying, played, some would say, the two best teams in the league, and Bournemouth looked significantly better than Wolves. Bournemouth were at least able to take advantage of Liverpool's weaknesses in pushing up their fullbacks and create chances off of the counter. And even though they're still going to be without Justin Kluivert, even though they're still going to be without Ryan Christie, I think Tyler Adams did a decent job as being the sole anchor, the ball progressor, the number 8 for them, so to speak. And whereas they were facing, a very strong midfield opposition in Liverpool, now it's going to be, Joao Gomez, who I think is very mid, and Andre, who gives up the ball for fun. So it's just a much easier opponent. I think they're going to have a lot more space to run around and play dynamically on the offense. If they can get the ball to Tavernier and to the rest of the front four, I think their offense is absolutely still capable of cooking, especially in transition. Wolves is going to push quite high up on offense. That's just the system they play, especially with their fullbacks. And so you have like yes, Bournemouth has lost a lot of key players, but they've made decent signings. Like a Troyfort, a Diakite, and Adam Smith is not a new signing, but like just for sake of example, they're really good at hoofing up long balls to the front four, and that's just kind of the Bournemouth strategy. If you can get the ball to those front four, they'll be dynamic and they'll just create chances out of nothing.
Yeah, no, it was a gutsy showing from Bournemouth. I mean, obviously Semenyo's performance was great. Scored twice in 12 minutes. I know Ekitike got man of the match. Honestly, even as a Liverpool fan, even I think it should have been Semenyo, to be honest. Brooks created chances from the right. Troyfort bombed forward very effectively. And yeah, like you said, they took advantage of Liverpool's weaknesses better than Wolves were able to do to City. Honestly, Wolves weren't able to do much of anything to City, I feel like. And there were some issues with defensive composure for Bournemouth. I know Senesi flirted with disaster when a VAR call spared him a red card. But Wolves is not going to be piling on that pressure like Liverpool, and I think the Cherries backline will do a lot better this match, which will leave the door open as well for their attackers to take quite a few shots at goal on the other end. Again, Wolves, they've just endured that harsh 4-0 loss, and without Cunha, I'm saying it again, without Cunha, they really lack an edge in transition. And though they have new rivals like Fer Lopez, like Strand Larson, I don't think they really tested City at all in that game. Losing 8 Nouri has also robbed Wolves of width. And just generally, they're still searching for an attacking identity. And meanwhile, you have Pep's side that is ruthlessly punishing them on the other end of the pitch. So they've got to tighten up at the back. But more importantly, I think they need their new attackers to step up if they want to compete at all.
I mean, I think to be fair to them, they are actually quite good at finding defensive gaps. That was kind of the idea that, Wolves used last year as well. And yeah, I know like City, they didn't look too great. But I think part of it was like every time they got a good chance, like City just used the offside trap and denied it off of them. Bournemouth is not going to do the same thing here. And I think as the squad gets more experience, as they're able to actually line up their best 11, like for example, John Arias didn't start in this match, even though he will be in the future because there's an adjustment period there. I think Wolves still has a lot more fight in them than some people are saying. I would say, if you can get Larson, if you can get Bellegarde to just make runs in behind against, Bournemouth's defense, which I think is still one of their weak spots, they could definitely get some chances there. Like Bournemouth, if they want to use the offside trap, I'm not confident they can do it because I think they actually tried to do it a little bit against Liverpool, right? Like, for example, that second goal with CoDaKrew, was it like Tavernier that tried to block Gakpo's goal while Senesi
Yeah,
was still going back? Like, if
right.
Senesi just pushed up and then faced him head on, and then the other backline players like knew what to do and made the offside trap, then Gakpo wouldn't be able to pass to the other guy behind, and he would have a much tougher like chance instead of just being able to get a free run into the box, right? And I can't remember them off the top of my head, but I think there were some other goals Bournemouth conceded that I can at least partially contribute to like that backline not being cohesive. Oh, the first goal is a good example. It was so Tyler Adams pushes up, and then the other guy in the midfield isn't able to see that Ekitike is making a run in, and then you get a similar opportunity. Yes, like Ekitike is lucky that Senese's uh, tackle attempt rebounds off, but that could have been prevented in the first place if Bournemouth were just more solid, right? So while they figure that out, I think Wolves will have ways to exploit them themselves, and so I think even if Bournemouth get the lion's share of the chances, the lion's share of the possession, like if Wolves can just get some transitions, if they can go on the counter, I think they'll be able to take advantage of a few key moments and get a goal in.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, I think Bournemouth, they showed against Liverpool that they've got the weapons to hurt teams that give them space. I mean, you have Semenyo's pace and finishing. He basically turns scraps into goals. And again, Brooks plus Troyfort gave them width that Wolves simply did not have when they were playing at the Etihad. Bournemouth know their attacking roles, and Wolves, I still feel like, are searching for a formula without Cunha. Though, like you said, they do have attacking talent, to be fair. I think for the most part, though, they're going to sit deep and try to grind this one out. They'll look for their openings, but I don't think they'll be super duper aggressive. They'll have to try and stitch together some good counters, and if they can't manage that, well, they're just going to be absorbing pressure for 90 minutes. I do actually think they can sneak in a goal, but generally at home with confidence from pushing Liverpool, I think Bournemouth should have the edge. They're going to expose some of Wolves' limitations, get an early strike from Semenyo in maybe, force Wolves to open up. And perhaps they can get an equalizer, but I think Bournemouth will be ahead by the end of the 90 minutes, and I'll say they win 2-1.
Yeah, I think I agree with basically what you're saying here. Like, neither club's defense is all that convincing, and I think because of that, both teams will be able to score. But yeah, like Bournemouth will get most of the chances. They're playing at home, and like they have guys like Semenyo. Like, actually, one of the interesting things about Bournemouth's offense is like they have quite a few players that can just turn on any given game. Maybe Semenyo has another banger, but it could also be Evan Nielsen that has another banger. Like, it could be anyone in that front four, and so I'm gonna agree with you. I think it's also I'm also gonna go with a slight edge to Bournemouth, and yeah, I think a 2-1 scoreline seems about fair to me.
Same scoreline once again. That's nice.
It's fine. It's fine. We're gonna disagree eventually.
All right. Brentford, Aston Villa. We have Brentford returning to the G-Tech as both of these teams look for their first wins of the season.
Yeah, both teams may be looking for a win, but I think one of them is feeling a lot better coming into this match than the other. Aston Villa went down to 10 men after Ezri Konsa got that red card, and they were able to hold on against Newcastle, whereas Brentford just got absolutely mollywopped by Nottingham Forest. They were lucky to get a penalty off of no doing of their own. It's not like they forced that handball there. And then they get a consolation goal, but I'm not feeling super confident about Brentford coming into this match, even though they're going to be at home. Obviously, Villa will not have Ezri Konsa because of that red card, but they still have like quite a solid defense, and comparatively, like Brentford are still missing Valley Janelt. So with him out of the midfield, I think if anything, Brentford are the one that's going to be suffering more from missing key players.
Yeah, I mean Villa they definitely escaped with the 0-0. I don't think it was a glorious game by any means. They had like 0.13 XG or something. But yeah, they went down to 10 men and they showed that they are very cohesive in defense, very cohesive under pressure. You had a lot of wasted chances from Newcastle. They were able to hold them off, even though there were quite a few shots being taken. And they have continued their unbeaten run at home. I think it's 19 games now, going on 20. Away from Villa Park, though, they're going to need lots more on offense in order to avoid slipping into another passive display. And I think a draw against Newcastle is not a bad result, but against Brentford, they are definitely going to want to win.
Yeah, and I think to be fair, I know like it was very passive in the first half for sure, but I do think that in the second, we definitely saw Tielemans and Onana pull them all much more into the game. They were more strong in that midfield, and they started to get some good opportunities. Obviously, it all went to crap as soon as Ezri Konsa gets that red card, but I think there's a big difference between having to deal with Tonali and Guimaraes in the midfield that's stopping you from progressing compared to, I don't know, fucking like Yarmouk and Jensen or Yarmouk and Hendo. I don't know. But the point is, I think Villa's like midfield is just obviously superior in this match. And I think the first part of the second half that we saw from Villa last match is going to be the full game for them today. Like they will easily dominate possession. They'll easily get the majority of the chances. And the question now just becomes conversion, which we did get to see a lot of from the Newcastle match. But to be fair to them, like obviously they have offensive talent, like they have the Watkins, the Rogers, the Mallins. We don't know how good they were, but if we're just basing off of like historical precedents, they're a pretty it's a pretty clinical front three that they have going on here. So I don't know how good Brentford's defense can be, and I don't know if they're going to be able to contain this Villa squad.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Brentford, Keith Andrews' Premier League debut couldn't have started much worse. They were 3-0 down by halftime, undone by set piece lapses, defensive disorganization. Kelleher's first outing in goal was shaky. I hated to see it, but I mean, I have to call it as it is. Malombo showed flashes, nothing more. And Hendo could only add composure off the bench once the game was already gone. I mean, you add in the uncertainty around Wissa, who has just deleted Brentford off all his social media, apparently, so that's not looking great. Mbuemo's gone, Norgard's gone. You have the sense of a team that is completely stripped of its spine. They did pull back a goal through Thiago's penalty, but overall the performance looked naive, which is what Andrews said afterward. The pressure is going to be on him. Lots of pressure to show that Brentford can settle down now and grind out results without the steady hand of Thomas Frank.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with Kelleher. Maybe he's the Jordan Poole of Brentford. Like, oh, he looks so good playing with Steph Curry in front of him, but now when he's on his own, now when he's leading his own team, not so good now. But it is only one match. I gotta give him some time before I make such ludicrous comparisons. But anyhow, I think Brentford are going to be a little bit better off, at least from their own perspective, compared to that last match. Because in that last match, they were playing fucking Lewis Potter as a winger because Kevin Schade was injured. At least I think he's probably coming back now, question mark, maybe. And so if Lewis Potter is able to drop back, play on the byline, okay, now Schade can actually cut in and actually create chances. And now Brentford will have to not just rely on the opponent, giving them a penalty or to actually create some chances here. The thing, though, I think, is even if Schade, cooks, I'm a bit worried about how much Brentford can do just relying on him by himself. Because, like we said, since Wissa has been gone, I mean, he's still at the club, but, he's basically gone. Since Mbeumo has been gone, it's been flat. If it's just Schade that's going to be providing, an offensive spark for them, it's going to be tough to break down this Villa side. Their right back is Matty Cash, who's defensively solid. They have Paul Torres. He's not a starter because of Ezri Konsa, but he's still solid, and Tyrone Mings. So unless Thiago and Carvajal actually start picking up the slack and actually start contributing, and I don't care that Thiago scored a penalty, actually contributing in open play, I just don't see how Brentford is going to break down Villa's defense.
Yeah, I mean, Brentford, they are clearly a team in transition, and that Forest defeat has showed just how much work Andrews has ahead of him. They looked vulnerable on set pieces, disorganized at the back, and just short of ideas going forward. They could have easily gone without a goal that match. I think they were pretty lucky to get a break with that penalty. And against a Villa side that can sit compact, soak up pressure, their weaknesses are going to be punished. But that said, Villa themselves offered quite little in attack the last week. I know they were decently promising first half, but the midfield balance seemed a bit off, and now they're without Konsa, so they're going to be relying heavily on their structure and also just trying to be patient. I think this is going to set up as a pretty low margin contest. I have some higher scoring games in some of these other predictions. This is not going to be one of them. The mistakes could matter quite a lot here, but I don't think there will be that many opportunities for either team. Though I think you can imagine who I have taking advantage more.
Yeah, I'm just going to go straight to my prediction then. I think, yes, I know Villa did not have the best game against Newcastle, and I know that there's midfield question marks that you have as well, but I just trust Unai Emery's system, man. I know that we've seen what he's done before. We know how good the midfielders can be. And, it's Brentford, bro. There's a big difference between Newcastle and Brentford. I don't care that Newcastle didn't have Isak. There's still a big difference. So, yeah, I mean, Villa have midfielders. They have decent finishers. We know this. And even though they're going to be away from home, and even though I think it will be cagey, I think they will be able to prevail in the end. And so, based on what you said, I'm worried you're going to have the same prediction as me. But I'm going to go with a cagey 1-0 win for Aston Villa. Oh, no. I see your face. Oh, no. No.
Well then.
Oh shit.
Yes, so Brentford will have spells of pressure. Maybe, if they're lucky, they find joy through a late set piece or a Thiago goal. But their defensive looseness is too fresh to ignore. I rate Keller pretty well. He and his backline cannot hold up for 90 against Villa, though. Like you said, he looks a lot worse when he's got worse players in front of him. For the moment, anyway. I think Villa will be able to lean on their organization, grow into the game, and they can eventually nick a winner through someone like Watkins, take advantage of a Brentford lapse, and I'm going to call it Brentford 0, Villa 1.
Yeah, thanks for reversing it so it sounds different. That's great. Dude, I feel okay, it's one thing if we have the same winners. The fact that we're not just saying 2-1 every time and then we still have the same scoreline.
Score?
I mean, does it mean maybe we're just smart? Maybe we just know the future and that's why we're able to be so precise and so agreeable here. But I don't know, man.
You've seen Chris Wood's podcast, right? Wisdom of the Crowd, man.
Yeah. I mean, but the thing is, based on from what we saw, Wisdom of the Crowd, fair enough. But the two of us, it's not we agreed with the wisdom of the crowd in all those cases. It's two outliers that happen to agree on a bell curve.
It's a crowd
That's
of two.
Weird. Yeah, it's a crowd of two, and and the two don't even fit well within the larger crowd. So I don't even know. Shout out Chris G though. Congrats
Yeah.
on the new channel, anyways.
All right. Then next up, I guess we've got Burnley versus Sunderland at Turf Moor. Two promoted sides.
Once again, both squads are going to be missing, some pieces, I will say. So Bashir Humphrey is still injured for Burnley, and Sunderland are going to be once again without O'Neill, as well as possibly without Selt, which is like who is their backup center back. So I think there's going to be some question marks coming into the game for both teams defensively. But I think given that it's so even in that respect, I think it's going to be like kind of close to being a full squad vs full squad matchup. And that's obviously going to be how both teams are looking into this, because when you're playing newly promoted sides for both squads, like they're going to see this as an opportunity to get points on the board. And like again, I've said this before, but these are like the matches that you're supposed to get points off if you want to not get relegated this year. So it's going to be a very important match, a match that both teams are going to take seriously.
Yeah, and I mean, you look at Burnley. I'll just take a look at them first. They got off to pretty harsh start, 3-0 defeat to Tottenham. Uh, they kind of struggled to create meaningful chances, and I honestly think they looked a step behind for like just about all of the game. Their defense was repeatedly exposed down the flanks, and Dubravka had little help between the sticks once Tottenham found their rhythm. There was not much to that back line. They did manage some half chances offensively. Lyle Foster, Josh Laurent, Jaden Anthony, I think they all saw efforts either blocked, saved, etc., or like just off the mark. But the lack of creative depth showed, and I mean, we saw Sunderland had a great performance. It was against West Ham, to be fair. But as for Burnley, despite not being the playoff team, they're looking quite a bit worse, and they're going to need some immediate improvement in the link up and the transition play if they are to avoid being overrun. Despite it being a home game, with these two performances for these two teams in the first week, Burnley are definitely at risk here.
No, that's fair, but I think if I'm looking like beyond the scoreline, I wouldn't be too worried, because there is a big difference. Regardless of what the 24-25 table may say, there is in fact a big difference in quality between West Ham and Tottenham. At least this new Tottenham. And with Burnley, like I think Maxime Esteve was actually pretty solid in defense. I think he had like a last minute block for a Tottenham shot, and I think he was overall solid at reading crosses. Rest of that, but I think the rest of Burnley's backline, like you were saying, was basically invisible. Like Richarlison is just in the space, and then like the Burnley guys, it's like they're not there basically. Now against Sunderland, maybe it works a little better because obviously Sunderland is not playing the same style. But I mean, they do like to be aerial as well. Sunderland, like they have Daniel Ballard. Uh, I think 3 of the 5 corners that Sunderland had, David, what am I saying David for? Daniel Ballard himself connected directly on them, and then off of a cross into the box from one of the center backs. I can't remember who now. I think Alderete. Then he scores the goal. You're nodding, so I'm assuming I'm right here. Anyways, so yeah, if that's the performance we see with Burnley trying to defend crosses against Tottenham, they might struggle as well against Sunderland. The saving grace for me though is I think in terms of dealing with counters, which is like Sunderland's other strategy, using their pacey wingers in Adingra and Talby. Maybe Burnley can do better. I feel like it remains to be seen because of all the new signings they've made. But I think Burnley will at least be hoping that they can fare better against Sunderland, tactically speaking.
Yeah, I'm honestly, it's a bit hard to compare these first games for these two teams because you have one of them is playing Tottenham, who of course didn't fare well at the end of last season, but they're looking much, much better this season. I mean, they almost just beat PSG to a Super Cup, right? And even still though, Sunderland they've begun their Premier League return in style. They had a quite dominant win, I would say, despite only having 37% possession against West Ham. They maximized their opportunities. 5 of 10 shots on target, 3 obviously got into the net. Shaka led the midfield with authority, and the team as a whole played direct and dangerous. And I think their counter-attacking approach is like going to look very good going forward. And the early signs definitely suggest that this squad can carry momentum from the championship with them into the top flight. And I know I had them going down in the table We both had them last place, right?
We both
But
have them last, but we have
I
Burnley
might I might
second last.
honestly
So
I might honestly have to reconsider. I still don't think they're
okay,
gonna
it's
stay
West
up,
Ham.
but
Chill. Let's chill out. It's West Ham.
that's
Okay,
fair. That's fair.
let's not go too crazy.
Let's not jump to conclusions just yet.
I mean, here's what's interesting. I think you said, correct me if I'm getting the statistics wrong. Is it something like teams that got 11 points in their first 10
It
games?
was
Yeah,
11
if you get
points by
11
the
points
end
in
of
your
the
first 10
10th game.
games, then those teams have not been relegated in the Premier League
Right.
era at least. So, I mean, if I'm Sunderland, like they already got 3. Let's say they get 3 again. Obviously a big if, but let's say they get 3 again. You already have 6 from 2. Like that's a really good position to be in. And I think as the players settle in more, like it is looking pretty good for Sunderland right now. I can't lie. I'm not ready to say just yet that they're not going to get relegated, but I think, I mean, it's obviously off to a very good start. But as for Burnley, like I think there were still some positives from that Tottenham match, even though like the scoreline is really bad. We know Hannibal Medri is great at link up and will be key to them, but man, Cullen really surprised me with his playmaking ability as well. I think he had 5 key passes, 6 long balls. But like it was kind of like the Jared Bowen thing, where like he creates opportunities, but like no one can really finish them. But against Sunderland, there's a big difference there in quality, and so maybe they'll be more effective here. And also they're at home. Like I think for Sunderland, like a big reason why they won was because they were at the Stadium of Light, and like the Stadium of Light is one of the hardest stadiums to play in the Premier League. And now that Burnley has that advantage, that's a big detraction for Sunderland. We'll see how good they are away from home, which is something you need to be good at in order to stay up in the Premier League. And I think it's an opportunity for Burnley as well. So I think it's going to be a pretty close game.
Yeah, and I mean, I think Turf Moor isn't quite as intense an environment as Stadium of Light is, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see how they fare away. I think it is worth saying, actually, then, that Burnley were unbeaten at home last season in the championship. I think it's the first time any team has done that since 09-10, which was Sunderland's cross-river rivals Newcastle, when they went down and immediately got promoted with like 100+ points. So it's like that record at least is definitely looking good for Burnley. But this first game against Spurs, it just had them looking overrun. They struggle to produce clear chances. They are going to need sharper transitions and definitely better defensive cohesion as well to handle Sunderland, who thrive on those counterattacks and set piece efficiency. And this to me feels like a match where the home side's errors could be punished very quickly. And Sunderland's approach gives them a tangible edge, but they're not Spurs, obviously, and Burnley's going to get a lot more breathing room in this match for sure.
Yeah, so I'm just going to say my final prediction now then. I think both clubs obviously are angling this match as the opportunity to increase their points tally, as the match you have to win in order to stay out of relegation. And while Sunderland has looked better so far, especially like, with how they play against West Ham, with the not just the fact they won, but the fact that they were able to play a variety of different offensive channels and look good in all of them. I think, yeah, that's really good for them. But I'm just not sure how well they're going to play away from home. I think the Stadium Light is a big factor for them. Yes, I know Turf Moor is not at that same level, but just the absence of playing at home is going to be a big loss for Sunderland, I think. So I think because of this, I'm going to be pretty tempered here. I'm just going to go with a 1-1 draw.
Okay, fair enough. I'm actually gonna be. I was considering a draw for sure. I do think it's gonna be low.
Well, that means you
scoring.
did it. That means we don't agree. That means we actually have a
don't.
difference here.
We actually
Okay,
do
nice.
not for once. I was considering a draw, but I just thought that Burnley, they had such a great home record last season. Again, like it hasn't been done for 15, 16 seasons now in the championship. And I think like obviously one of those home wins last season was against Sunderland, right? And like I think they're not going to keep up that record against top teams in the Prem, obviously. But Sunderland is a team where like I think they can hold that home form. And so I'm going to have a very low scoring game, but it will be a Burnley win, and I'm going to say they win 1-0 here to get their first points, and they can that way match the other two promoted teams.
All right, fair enough. I mean, the good thing for this, the good thing with the way our scoring system works is that in case like any of our viewers are watching this and they don't know this, statistically speaking, draws are always the least likely outcome in any given match. However, because we get 2 points for getting the right goal difference, that means if you get the draw right, you actually get 2 points by default. So there is a bit more of an incentive to go for a draw here. So I think that probably did influence my decision a little bit. But yeah, I'm happy we disagree. But that being said, next match, On paper, it seems like it shouldn't be as close. Arsenal vs Leeds. Tell me what's up with this.
Okay. I'll talk about Arsenal first. They are heading into their first home game of the season off the back of uh a very questionable game in Old Trafford against a newly rebuilt Man U. Mikel Arteta's side relied on their set piece prowess to break the deadlock here. This is what I was saying West Ham might need to rely on, and it ended up being Arsenal that had to utilize this.
The big
Calafiori
difference
nodding
between
in.
United and Sunderland, though.
That's
So
fair. That's fair. But Calafiori nodding in from a Declan Rice delivery, and Arsenal, they were second best in open play for almost the whole match. I think even most Gunners will not disagree with that. David Raya's goalkeeping, though, and the defensive organization of the team ensured that United's constant pressure failed to yield an equalizer. I think they did a pretty decent job on the back half. And despite Man U's early possession dominance, I know they had like 70-75% possession in the opening 10 minutes. It was some real high stat. Arsenal, they were able to absorb that pressure. They found their goal, and they did have a questionable second half, but they will be going into this game, I think, confident that they'll have no issues beating the championship champions. Because, I mean, they're not Man United. It's Leeds United we've got here.
yes, I mean, say what you will about Arsenal not having the best performance, but a key factor in being able to win the Premier League is winning games that you don't deserve to, right? So the fact that they were able to do that against United, they were able to hold their own, control the defense. Raya had some good saves, but it wasn't like he carried. It wasn't like he had like a prime David De Gea performance. Like he just had a good, solid game. He just played like he normally does, and United were just unable to break through that. And I think there were also some positives on the offense too. Even though like with the new signings, it's going to take a while for everyone to gel. Like I've seen a lot of hate online for Gyökeres because he didn't play this well in this one game. And I gotta just say that. Like, give him time, man. This guy just went to the Premier League.
The hate watching from every fan base on every team is crazy. It's Gyökeres, Šeško, Florian Wirtz.
Gyökeres and Šeško are gonna be flops. Because
every big striker, man.
Holy
every striker is on hate watch right now.
Yeah. Dude, I think, like, luckily for Ekatike, he went off to a good start. Bro, Salah was on hate watch. If Salah didn't score against Bournemouth in the last minute, he would be on hate watch too, bro. He's not a new player or a striker.
Yeah.
It's like, you know.
Prem
Yeah.
fans, man.
Prem fans actually, bro, the average Prem fan, I swear, has like the mental acuity of a 5-year-old. With all due respect.
I don't
Sorry,
know.
I just had to say it.
Yeah. Little tangent. But, okay, we look at Leeds now. They were no slouches with their win over Everton. I mean, I don't know if you were watching this game live. I was. And I feel like they were pretty, maybe not dominant to start off the game, but they were getting most of the chances. I know the penalty was obviously quite controversial, and I think a draw would have been a pretty deserved result. But, like, if I was going to have any team win that game based off their effort, based off the chances they got, it was going to be Leeds. They just created a lot more by the end of those 90 minutes. And, I don't know, it was a late penalty too. It really just embodies the team's perseverance because they were creating chances, kept pressing to keep Everton pinned back. I thought the defensive shape was really strong as well. I think there was only one shot on target that they conceded. And, as well in midfield, you had Ethan Ampadu controlling proceedings there. I think Leeds, they have set a strong template for how they will approach established Prem sides like Everton, which is just keep pushing them. I don't know, it's what they do best with this roster they've got here. Don't bother trying to play deep, park the bus, or anything like that. Just go at them with everything you've got. And honestly, with Leeds' roster, with their playstyle, it works, man. It works well.
Yeah, I mean, I can't deny that, like, part of that was, sure, Everton having a bit of an off day. But yeah, I think maybe that is a strat. Maybe it's not just to park the bus, because they get the 3 points by playing their style of football. Sunderland get the 3 points by playing their style of football. Burnley's playing against Tottenham, so, like, I'll give them some time. We'll see. But I think there is some truth to that. I think, like, the last example I can think of was, like, Sheffield United did that. And we haven't seen anyone do it since. But we also haven't seen anyone, like, survive for a while. So maybe there's an interesting question to be had there. And I didn't watch this live. I was actually over at a friend's house while this was happening. But yeah, I mean, after watching the game back, I'm a little bit more pissed about that penalty because you had a 1-0 win and I had Everton winning, so I would be 3 goals down
Dude,
because of
they had
that.
chances afterward too, and it's like
Yeah.
terrible of me just as a football fan, but I it's like I was praying for them to not score again. Like just please give me the 3 points while I can get it.
Oh, yeah. No, I get it though. But I get it though. I mean, damn, you were that's crazy. You were praying on Everton to defend? That's crazy. What a fake Liverpool fan, man. That's crazy. But anyhow, I looked at the highlights, so maybe I'm not getting the accurate picture, but from what I saw, like Ampadu was pretty solid, but I also think like Tanaka, who actually I wasn't sure if he was gonna start or not, but he did. He seemed really good to me. Like he was really good at reading passing lanes. He had some key progressive passes forward, and also like Stroyek and Stoch, I think they are pretty good long ball distributors, and I think that is also a key quality that Leeds are going to need to employ to like bypass midfields and just play their style of football and still be able to survive against the stronger teams. But the issue is like Everton having an off day, you can catch them on that, and then you can take advantage and win the game. But that same luxury is not afforded when you're playing against Arsenal, at the Emirates, right? So it's very questionable to me. And the other questionable thing is they had something like 2.13 xG in this match, and then they only scored that one goal off of a penalty. So I have a lot of questions about their finishing ability. I know, yes, it's one game, adjusting to the Prem, whatever, but hey, listen, Arsenal is obviously not a team that you get a lot of chances to score against. You have to just be clinical. United learned this the hard way, so I don't know if Leeds can actually be able to break through. Not just like converting their chances, but Arsenal have a very strong back line. They have a really good keeper. I just don't know if Leeds is going to be able to break that down.
Yeah, I mean, Arsenal, they are going to definitely rely on that defensive setup quite a bit. You have Saliba and Ben White is expected to marshal the back line, and you've got Raya in goal, right? So that is you can expect a good performance from him. And their set piece efficiency, as terrible as it is that they have to utilize that as much as they have so far, it remains a crucial weapon for them. And if worst comes to worst, it could decide the outcome. It would be really terrible if they needed set pieces to win against Leeds, but like it could be managed, right? So they at least have
I
that to fall
guess.
back on, I suppose.
Sure.
Leeds, again, they're going to try and impose their intensity, their physicality. That's basically the whole purpose of their transfer window. You look at like Beal, Stash. That is like what they've been trying to get with their roster. They're going to have Ampadu in midfield to try and control space, press opponents. And you have Mecha as a focal point for attacks. He's, I think, actually quite a bit shorter than the rest of the roster, but he still gets those goals in. The ultimately though, it's the Gunners, right? Their experience and composure in handling high pressure matches gives them the key edge. I'm not even sure this is necessarily going to be a high pressure match. Leeds is going to try and make it one, that's for sure. And I think they'll find their opportunities, but we can expect this game to be, for the most part, under Arsenal's control.
Yeah, I think it's one of those games where like Leeds gonna keep it competitive for like however long they're able to hold off Arsenal, but once they score a goal, then like that's where sort of the tide collapses and it could become a rut from there. I think like I don't expect Arsenal to have the performance that they did last week again. There were some positives. There was like I think for example Odegaard actually looked really solid. Now that Zubimendi is there to provide defensive assurance, like we can see him now actually like have more freedom, have more creativity on the offense. I think Gyökeres getting to play a relatively easier opposition. I think he will have a better game as well. I think Saka will have a better game as well. So we just know that Arsenal have quality. We just know that they can dominate against these lower table teams, and they're going to be playing at home. So, I mean, I don't really care how they did against United. I think they're just going to win this easily, and so I'm going to have a 3-0 win for Arsenal.
Okay, and I think Arsenal will start strong. Yeah, they'll be able to absorb that early pressure. I'm sure Leeds will be trying to pile on the pressure, but Arsenal can orchestrate a good build up for open play strikes. With players like Rice and Odegaard, you can have Calafiori or Gyökeres, who I think will finally be able to debut with like an actual goal, and they can add something through crosses or maybe defensive missteps. And again, Leeds, they're gonna bring the intensity the whole time, and I'm pretty big on them, to be honest. So I think they can grab a goal at some point, but Like they're not gonna get that many opportunities. This is Arsenal we're talking about, and I'm just gonna go ahead and say Arsenal score 3, Leeds score 1, and their tactical discipline and experience just proves too much for a newly promoted Leeds side.
Fair enough, man. I think it's going to be interesting because, like, we actually have. I mean, again, we'll have to see for Burnley, but we could potentially have three sides that all have a solid chance of staying up for the first time in a while in the Premier League, and that's really exciting. And it also makes our jobs a lot harder. But
Yeah,
you know,
they're
it is
off
what it
to a
is.
good start, man. It's
Yeah,
nice to
I
see,
mean,
honestly.
yeah, I like Leeds has really surprised me. Sunderland, not as surprising because it's West Ham, but like they look solid. So, anyways, that being said, we're now going to talk about the team that Leeds did beat, and that was Everton. They're now going to be at home, and they're going to be against Brighton. So, what are we saying for this one?
Yeah, I mean, tough defeat for Everton. Again, I feel like the Toffees were kind of out of it to start. Leeds was creating several corners, lots of chances in the opening quarter, though, of course, we saw Leeds kind of struggle to convert that into meaningful chances. Uh, it was unfortunate for Tarkovsky. I know people have rated, I've seen people rate him kind of poorly for this match. I think maybe that penalty giveaway was influencing those ratings quite a lot, perhaps undeservedly. I don't think he played that bad here. Like compared to the rest of the team, I've seen his ratings way lower than the rest of the team from some people, and
I feel like he was their best defender, honestly.
yeah, I think he played well enough. I mean, it's still a loss to Leeds, which is not a good look, but I'm not gonna single him out for this game. You have Pickford make quite a few saves actually, but unfortunately the forwards just could not match his effort with an equalizer. Though I will say the first match at their new stadium, the Bramley Moore, is going to give the team lots of hope. Moyes' side will need more cohesion and some sharper attacking execution in order to properly challenge a team like Brighton. But the fans, I think, will definitely be behind them.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun match, man. I know, like, I think also a contributor to Everton's lackluster defense is Jared Brantwaite being out, and I think he will still be out for this match. But yeah, obviously being at home is going to be a big factor for them, and I think there's also like an element of this transition. You know, getting in new signings, Dewsbury Hall, Jack Grealish, more potentially on the way. Like it's going to take a while for them to adjust. I think I said something similar for I don't remember who was it. There was another team I was talking about how they weren't even starting their best players yet because it was new transfers. But I think it's going to be a similar thing with Everton. Like you're going to ease Grealish into it. Maybe Grealish will start for this match now that he's actually gotten some minutes for Everton. And I think they're gonna be pretty solid. And I know they lost that one match, but I still rate them. They have a solid team. We've seen that David Moyes can really cook with them. And so yeah, I just don't think Brighton is a strong opponent, but I just don't think they're gonna take that loss easily and just start like laying down and losing matches that they used to be able to at least get a result in. So you know, I think, like I'm saying, Everton's offense is probably going to improve. Now that they have, hopefully, Njai and Grealish both actually starting, like, now you're actually providing an offensive spark. You're providing players who can cut inside and relieve a lot of pressure on the rest of the team. And you also have players like, Dewsbury Hall coming in. He can overlap. He can provide in long passes. He's just like an overall intelligent player that knows what needs to be done at any given moment to help support the team. Same for Alcaraz, also a new signing. So yeah, I feel like there's just a lot of I don't want to say turmoil, but it's a moment of transition that Everton is in right now that I think is making me not too worried about that one loss to Leeds.
Yeah, I think they're off to like it's a decent outlook for them, definitely, and we'll just have to see how they play at home. And as for Brighton, they kind of snatched defeat from the jaws of victory with
Yeah,
letting that equalizer in deep in stoppage time from Muniz. O'Reilly, I think they were playing well to start, and you had O'Reilly's penalty to give the goals a lead, so they didn't get that from open play. But they were able to control the game for long stretches with that lead, forcing Fulham to chase. Minte proving pretty lively on the wings, Matoma consistently creating opportunities. Defensively, Lewis Dunk marshaled the backline well, and the team, they maintained possession and structure throughout. Honestly, like with Everton, I don't think there's that much more Brighton could have done. All they can really do is try and avoid this sort of late lapses that allowed Fulham to snatch a point. But honestly, like even though They drew their game. I think it feels more like a loss, especially for the fans in the stadium. But it wasn't a bad showing for them, and I think they're also looking pretty good going into this next matchup.
Funnily enough, I have like a similar criticism for them as I did for Leeds. Like they have all these great chances. They're able to convert, like they're able to create chances both on the wings, from Minte and Matoma, but also like they have the Balebas, the Araris, the O'Reillys to actually create chances inside. Especially with O'Reilly adding like a dynamicism and ability to move up to the attacking line. He knows when to pass, knows when to overlap. Like similar thing I would say for like a Carlos Alcaraz type of player. I mean, Brighton was also like Leeds, not that offensively clinical. I think it was like 1.48 xG, and I know xG is not everything, but you saw it in the game. Like they weren't able to convert enough of set chances, and it feels like they deserved to win, and so that's why it's so disappointing to just only get a draw against like out of context, it's a solid Fulham side. I wouldn't be too disappointed by it, but yeah, like it doesn't feel great. And now that they're going to be away from home, now they're going to be playing at the new Everton Stadium. That's just an environment where like if you start wasting your chances, one, it's like okay, I don't know how much longer I can sustain this, and two, like it's like demoralizing where you just have this feeling that okay, if we keep not scoring, like eventually Everton is bound to get one back on us. Like that mental pressure of playing away from home, especially with the type of fans that Everton has, I think that could make this quite an interesting battle.
Yeah, and Everton, they're going to look to stabilize under Moyes. They have some great players here. You've got Tarkovsky's aerial presence. Pickford is commanding in the box. They're going to try and control Brighton's wide threats. That's going to be very important. And Irabunam and Grealish, they're going to aim to connect the midfield to the attack. Irabunam, I know people rated pretty poorly in that match against Leeds. I think he, like, from what I've seen, he's like the lowest rated player in the starting 11. He's gonna need to improve a bit, I guess. But yeah, they'll generally just be trying to find
He might be
spaces
out of the starting
between
11 though for Grealish.
that's oh yeah, that's true. That's true. They'll be trying to find spaces behind the defensive line. And as for Brighton, they're just going to continue to rely on pace, dribbling on the flanks from Minte and Matoma to try and stretch out Everton, create goal scoring opportunities. I think the defense is decently strong. You have Dunk back there and the center back pairing to absorb pressure. Honestly, both these sides have shown that they are capable of converting their chances. Like they don't miss out on all like too many opportunities. I think like you said, Brighton kind of had that issue in the last game, but I think generally they're pretty good with finishing. I think they'll get their chances. It's just concentration is going to be key to make sure they aren't making the same mistakes late on as in their last games.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, like I see that, and just to go to final predictions now, I think Brighton are probably going to get most of the chances again, but I'm just worried about that finishing, man. I'm just worried like it's I mean, like they're missing a João Pedro now, for example. I don't know who's gonna get the final goals for them, and so I'm not saying they're gonna get shut out, but like I'm just a bit worried about the finishing. And then when you have that combined with being away from home, playing an Everton side which we know is very good, like on their day, they have the Njais, they have the Grealishes, they do have the quality. I think Everton will be able to hold the Seagulls to a draw. So I'm gonna go with my second 1-1 draw of the prediction.
Okay, that's interesting because you know what? I actually have. All right, so Everton, they're going to want to make a strong first impression at their new stadium, right? And I think the occasion will lift them up quite a bit. And they've got key figures here like Pickford, like Tarkovsky, like O'Brien in the back. And I guess it's just going to be up to their forwards now. Like Beto, assuming he plays well this game because he was kind of meh in the last one. Actually, I don't think he did all that much. He got like maybe 3 or 4 touches actually. But I think Everton this time around, they will be able to take advantage of the energy around the new stadium, the same kind of energy the Leeds fans were feeding their team in that opening game. And so I know I'm a Liverpool fan and I shouldn't be doing this, but I'm actually going to give them a 2-1. I think the
I can see
novelty of
it.
Bramley Moore.
I can see
I
it.
think the novelty of Bramley Moore is going to inject energy into the side. I expect an Njai banger for the first goal. Brighton will strike back, likely through maybe Minte Earl Riley, or Matoma. But I can also see Everton holding on and finding a decisive second, maybe from a set piece, maybe from a late break. But I think the fans will be able to keep up that energy throughout this game. Definitely for the first game at their new stadium. I know I'm making this a big point, but I think it is a big deal for
It's a
them.
fair point.
Yeah, Everton's motivation to start their new era with a win, I think it'll see them through. It'll be a tight game, but I think it'll be very entertaining, and they will be able to get their lead back and hold it on for the 90 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is like a tough game to predict. I feel like all three outcomes are basically equally likely. It's like a classic mid-table Premier League match, like notoriously difficult to predict. Yeah, I think it's fair. I'm glad we're like actually having some disagreements this time. Like, it's not gonna just
It
go
was
down to one
looking
match.
worrying at the start, man, but it's good. We
Yeah,
have two
I'm
games with like
glad.
different
I'm
verdicts so
glad,
far, so
and we
it's
still
nice.
have more. We still have some more interesting matches left, I think. And I think that's going to bring us to the next one. Another like mid-table clash, tough to predict sort of match here. Crystal Palace vs Nottingham. Tell me.
Okay. So, Palace, they had that nil-nil draw with Chelsea. I think they maybe could have they could have created more consistent chances. So the offense can be improved, but the defense, I think they really showcase their organization. You have Gahey back there commanding the back line. Uh, and despite facing a Chelsea attack valued at hundreds of millions of pounds, Palace they limited their chances effectively and forced the Blues into some pretty low quality attempts. And again, Palace struggled to create consistent chances. You did have that Eze free kick, to be fair, which could have gotten them easily 1-0 up if not for Gahey being like encroaching on the wall. But yeah, Palace, they've shown their defensive cohesion and their ability to frustrate higher profile sides. I think it'll be key in this match here. And we'll just have to see if the offense can step up their game. But I think I'm quite confident that the defense will do well once again.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on this. I think both squads honestly have a pretty solid defense, and that's gonna be an interesting dynamic because I think if I look at like for example, I'm gonna just go to Nottingham Forest and talk about their offense to match this. But yeah, I mean they look really solid. Obviously Chris Wood is still Chris Wood. He is that guy, aerially strong, knows when to make the runs in behind. He knows his teammates well. Like he made that run in behind for that second goal before Anderson actually released the ball and started the pass. So like the team chemistry, the cohesion is good too. Honestly, I just have to give Nottingham an apology. Like a few weeks ago, I think we both had them finishing lower mid table, but they have now signed James McAtee, Omari Hutchinson, Arnold Colomiendo, and likely Douglas Luiz as well. And they have shown that their system is not a one season wonder. This is actually sustainable. And I mean, yeah, like sure they lost Anthony Alenga, and Dan Ndoye's goal was not the sort of like contribution we expect from him. Like we expect him to be like the on the ground like 1v1 dribbling winger, but I mean he got a goal. Gibbs White and Anderson once again look good. Like Dominguez is out. Sangari obviously decent, but when Dominguez comes back, that's going to be another offensive threat. I just think that yeah, like Nottingham, they're consistent. I think we might have underestimated them once again. But like you were saying, the question to this though is there's a big difference between Brentford's defensive capabilities and Crystal Palace's defensive capabilities. That back three is so hard to go up against, and even if they do, obviously Dean Hendo is in net. So yeah, I don't know. It's going to be tough to predict this one.
Dude, we Nottingham just waited for us to put out our table video and then they signed like 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah,
Just
they
all
had
at
like
once.
a quite all basically all that happened before was like Alanga out, Dan and Doy in. We make the video, and then they absolutely like, and then like I don't know, they start playing like career mode or something. Absolutely insane scenes.
I guess Chris G must have advised them like let CoDaKrew get their content out and then you do your thing.
Oh my goodness,
It's
Christy is just
unfortunate.
screwing with us, man.
Dude, what do you say with Chris? Like you have Chris Wood, he led the line brilliantly, got his brace. You had Ndoye, Morgan Gibbs White combined effectively to dominate the attacking phase. And like they also had a compact defensive shape, quick attacking bursts. They were basically controlling the game from the opening minutes. I mean, you look at a pressure graph and you'll see they could have scored a fourth pretty easily around minute 60. Like you had shots from Gibbs White, Hudson Odoi, some saves needed from Kelleher. Forest, I think, weren't big on possession last season. Like their average possession per game was low 40s, if I'm not mistaken. It was maybe 14th, 15th, 16th in the league, but they have shown here what they're able to do when they keep the ball at their feet. I think this is the play style that Nuno is kind of shifting toward for this season. And I can't blame them. It's worked well. It is Brentford that they're playing, who have lost like half of their starting 11. But
Right.
it's worked. I can't blame Nuno Espirito Santo, man.
Well,
It's
maybe now
looking
that
good for him.
maybe now that we post this video, Palace is also gonna lose. Like, the day after this video comes out, Mark Gahey has gone to Liverpool.
Eze gone.
Fucking Eze's
Gahey
gone to
gone.
Tottenham. Like, you never know. You never know. The reality bends around when our videos are made for Nottingham Forest only. But yeah, I mean, based on what we have right now, it just feels like again like a very tough to predict team or a tough to predict match with two very solid teams. If we look at the flip side of this, I could say very similar things for Crystal Palace. Like Adam Morton, he looked really solid. He looked really solid. Will Hughes also very good as well. I don't know if Daichi Kamada will come back. Even if he doesn't, like I don't think it's going to be too much of a loss for Palace. They have Eze. He knows when to drop back. They have Munoz, Mitchell. They know like when to contribute offensively, when to stay back. And yeah, I think like Palace also have a very good strong offense. And even though like tactically they're not similar teams, I think there's a dichotomy of strong offense via strong defense in both cases. These are two teams that they have good midfielders, but it's not a lot of like possession ball. Like I know you're talking about like how Nuno is starting to drift into that more and more to an extent, but I still think that these are two teams that are more focused on just get the ball to the final third compared to like playing possession, at least the way that like the upper table teams do it. If you know what I'm trying to say. So yeah, that's just what I imagine happening. I think there's going to be a lot of the game will just be like in the final third for both teams, and it's going to be a crack over match. Um, and again, like for Palace's offense, like as good as their offense is, Nottingham have one of the best center back pairings in the Premier League, and Matt Sells is a very solid keeper himself. So yeah, I don't know. This is going to be an interesting match. I feel like it could easily just like swing 2-0, 3-0 one way or the other, just depending on who's more clinical. But yeah, I'm not going to say my prediction yet, but I think I would not be upset no matter what you said.
Yeah, I mean, okay, it's like you said, it's going to be back and forth, box to box game. You have both sides who are approaching this fixture with some pretty different strengths. Palace, they're going to rely on their defensive discipline, organization. Gahey's still expected to marshal the back line, assuming he doesn't somehow end up leaving the club first.
Right.
Palace, they have quality in their delivery, good aerial presence in the box. They're definitely more offensively minded. Did I say Palace? Sorry, I meant Forest. Forest, offensively minded. And they are arriving in London looking very sharp up front because you have Chris Wood once again showing the finishing and movement that make him a constant threat. Gibbs White providing that creative link in midfield to feed him and Dan Ndoye as well. And Palace, they showed their defensive discipline against Chelsea. So these teams are really playing to their strengths now. I do think, though, Palace struggled to create attacking opportunities. Eze and Mateta obviously can try to spark them to life, but I think Forest's pressing and compact transitions can limit the space that they usually exploit. This game will be a tight battle early on, but I see Forest edging this one 2-1. They've got a combination of clinical finishing from Wood, from Ndoye, plus Gibbs White in midfield orchestrating, and I think it'll be enough to break down Palace's defense. As difficult as that will be, because it is very disciplined, but I think Nottingham have the firepower to do it.
All right. Well, then I'm just gonna say my scoreline then. Two underrated clubs in the Premier League, I would say. Like, you know how we have like Newcastle, Liverpool coming up, but I think personally, this is my match of the week. Like, this is the match where on a tactical level, like, there's gonna be 10% of the game will be like in the middle. It's gonna be like 90% in the in the final thirds for these two teams. So it's end-to-end football, I think. And the thing is, I would have a high-scoring game, but these two squads are so defensively solid that I could just see a lot of chances get like blocked last ditch for either side. So I'm actually gonna say it's relatively mild scoring wise, and I feel like I've predicted too many draws already. But this match week, just feel like there's a lot of even games going on here, so I'm gonna have to do one more. Another 1-1 draw here is my final prediction.
Wow. Okay. So three verdicts different now. And I think we still have two games to go, yeah? So we'll just move on to Fulham, who host Man U at Craven Cottage as they look to build on a pretty dramatic opener with that last minute goal against Brighton.
Yeah, I mean, for Fulham, they're still without Anthony Robinson. Ryan Sessegnon, their backup, is out as well. And so the big question for me is going to be Amad Diallo vs. I guess Kenny Tete would be their third choice left back. So I mean, here's the way I saw it. Like I think Diallo was very scrappy and very solid in the minutes he got. He won all 7 of the ground duels he was involved in. And I think if Amarin is smart, he should definitely be starting because if it's him and Embuemo that are on that right side, I think that they can easily exploit that defensive weakness that Fulham have. And so there's a lot of questions about United coming into this. They showed a lot of promise against Arsenal. Amarin's new system is finally starting to look like it has a good identity. Even fucking Casemiro looks good, man, in this new system. Now he doesn't have to like possess the ball much. It's just about putting in long balls. He put in 7 against Arsenal. Obviously, we all know Fernandes can do that as well. So it feels like United are actually finally building something cohesive, like a real identity under Amarin. But the question with that is that actually a new identity? Is that actually a new system? Or is that just United, looking decent against like bigger clubs like they always do, and then like collapsing the next match week against the mid-table squad in Fulham? I don't know.
Yeah, Man U. I mean, last season it seemed like they had a tendency to play well against teams that were at the top, and then when you get a team that's like more at their level, i.e., bottom mid-table, they
Right.
don't do
You
so
don't know.
great. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
they did have some very strong chances against Arsenal. You had that shot from Cunha that Raya had to duck down for to save. Dorgu came very close to equalizing with his effort. Pretty sure it went off the post. They dominated possession too, but they were once again exposed on set pieces. And to be fair, they were playing the set piece demons, Arsenal, but there is still a vulnerability there in the aerial duels, in the set piece defense. There's something to be concerned about there. And
Bayern
you
Deer
have
especially. They need a better keeper,
Right.
man.
You have Bindir's ongoing issues. Onana's still gone. Can't say that Onana would be much better necessarily, but
Onana's not gone. According to Amarin, he's I haven't dropped Onana. I just have 2 keepers I would rather play.
right.
I think is what he
Bindir
said.
being one of them, of
Yeah.
course. I don't know. It like the back line is pretty susceptible. So as we expected coming into the season, United under Amarim is still a work in progress. And yeah, they did have honestly, I think a pretty good showing against Arsenal. But it's not gonna be looking great here against Fulham. Like they have a lot of holes. I think there are definitely a lot of things that Fulham can take advantage of. And Brighton were looking pretty solid throughout their game, but I think Man U could let up quite a bit more in this one.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. I think I actually do trust Amarin's system. I actually think this isn't a fluke, and that they will continue playing like this because on all the metrics for how a 3-back system should work, like the midfielders did their job in progressing. I think the fullbacks did their jobs in contributing to the offense. The center backs were genuinely really strong against Arsenal. I know that yes, they conceded a goal, but like they were still very strong. I mean, maybe it's like bias that I'm having because I do like 3-back systems more, but it feels like it wasn't like the players. I feel like it was actually the tactical system. That's the vibe I'm getting. And if I'm correct, then United should have no problems beating Fulham in theory. So that's the question here. I think for Fulham, it's not like a tactical thing, but I think there is a similar thing with the Diallo situation that actually Silva can deal with as well. Emil Smith Rowe, when he got subbed in, revitalized Fulham's offense. Like he got a key cross into Kenny Tete that should have went in. He had a cut inside that he could have scored, but he didn't convert on. I think he really revitalized the attack. So I would say similar to how, and by the way, that revitalization led to eventually the equalizer. So similar to how I would say Diallo should be starting, I think Emil Smith Rowe should be starting as well. I know Josh King, maybe like it's the competition there, but I don't understand why you can't just start both of them. They're both key to the Fulham counterattacking system. They both have a great footballing IQ already. Josh King is like I don't know how old he is, but he's a youngster for sure. He already is showing a lot of maturity in his game, and yeah, I mean, I don't know. I think yeah, Amarin's system is better, but I think Fulham will offer them a real challenge, and this will be a very good testing ground. Maybe not for the players so much, but just like for people like us who want to see how legit this United side is. This is a very good game to test that theory.
Yeah, that's fair. I think tactically speaking, Fulham, they're going to want to stay disciplined. They need to manage United's wide threats. That's an important thing. And then they have players like Harry Wilson in order to transition quickly into attack. You also have Muniz. His late runs off the bench give them a very sharp cutting edge in behind the back line. And Bernd Leno's presence in goal as well is going to help organize the defense on crosses, on set pieces, something United has quite a few issues with. Speaking of United, they're going to try to dominate possession. You have Casemiro, who's actually playing surprisingly well now, and Dorgu to connect the midfield. And then they have definitely good attacking threat here. You have Mbuemo, you have Cunha, you have Šeško, trying to exploit spaces in and around Fulham's box. Both sides have shown potency and vulnerability from set pieces, so dead ball situations could be decisive. And I think this match could be pretty shaky. Like I could really see it going either way, to be honest. But like I can see a few opportunities for Fulham's gaps to be exploited when they're on the counter as well. So both of these sides, they're just going to need concentration and I guess some good timing in order to avoid costly errors. But I think there will be quite a bit of luck involved here, to be honest. And yeah, we'll just have to see. I'm not too confident in my prediction, but it'll be an interesting watch, that's for sure.
All right. I mean, I feel like you can't be too confident because like this new system thing is just such a big question. But I said before, I trust the Amarin system. I think it's actually going to work. And if that's the basis, then I think United should win this match. So I'm going to stick to my guns here. I think Amarin will sort out the starting 11 dilemmas. We will see Diallo actually starting. I think he will keep Casemiro on. I think he earned a spot to stay in that starting 11, even though, Ugarte and Ugarte, by the way, had a really bad game. But anyways, despite the fact that Ugarte and the other guy, I can't remember his name now, are trying to gun for it as well. God damn it! Who am I thinking of?
With Ugarte?
It's Ugarte. It's obviously Bruno has a spot. It's Ugarte, Casemiro, and
in the back.
And
Dorgu? No,
no, not Dorgu. No. Whatever. It doesn't matter. It's fine. It's fine. The point is, like, yeah. As long as United actually sort this out, I think. Oh, Kobe Mainu, fucking, oh my god, dude. Whatever, man. Yeah. Yeah. I think if Amarin keeps Casemiro, I think if you let Mainu actually be the backup and you don't let Ugarte touch the ball because I don't think he fits the system very well, I think there's actually something to this, and I would say Fulham shouldn't give them too much of a challenge, and I'm just gonna back United. I say they get a 2-0 win. I don't want to say comfortable because I do think Fulham will always provide like some sort of sharp edge, like they can always get a goal in, but I think it will be a display that gives the fans a lot more confidence, saying that we're not just capable of looking good, we're actually capable of turning the system into a win.
Yeah, that's fair. And I also have a United win. I just think it's not going to be. I think it'll be a little closer. Fulham will stay dangerous on the counters. You could have Muniz enter late again. But they have failed to keep a clean sheet in I think their last 10 games now. And I think United's pressing intensity, again, they have firepower on the front line. They will create enough clear chances to take the lead. I'm going to expect Cunha to score at some point. He's actually got a pretty good history of scoring at Craven Cottage, actually opening up matches, so I think he can do that here. You could have Mbuemo, Šeško adding support. Fulham could grab another late equalizer, but I think United will edge this one through, and I'll give them a 2-1.
All right, fair enough. Well, that gets us to the marquee matchup, saved for the end. Not by our own doing, that's just how the schedule works, so don't blame us, folks. Newcastle vs Liverpool.
Yeah, Newcastle. Frustrating start for them. I mean, their season was already looking a bit questionable with how their transfer window went. But yeah, a 0-0 draw despite dominating possession against Villa, creating lots of chances. Eddie Howe's side had 77% possession of the ball after Villa went down to 10 men. But they just couldn't convert their opportunities. Perhaps struggling a little bit without Isak leading the line. You have the two Anthonys, Gordon, or actually, no, sorry, not Elanga. Elanga's gone. But you have Anthony Gordon there trying to provide dynamism and runs in
What do you mean
behind.
Elenga's gone?
Yeah, I just realized I fucked that up. I'm talking about Newcastle, not Nottingham. My bad. Two Anthony's. Yes,
Listen,
Gordon,
I
Elanga.
think after, not even
I
if
think
we're
I'm
both
fried
scoring up
after an
now.
hour 20 minutes, man. My
Yeah,
bad.
we're both fried at this point. It is what it is.
Gordon Elanga. My notes are fine. I'll stick to my notes for now. They
Okay.
tried to provide runs in behind, good dynamism, but Newcastle lacked the finishing touch. And I think it left the Magpies with a sense of what might have been had their star striker been available. And unfortunately, it's not looking like he's going to come back. I don't think the fans want him to at this point, and I don't think it's going to happen because he put out like an Insta post on his story or something, and he's like, promises have been broken, and when promises are broken, relationships cannot be maintained or some shit like that. It's
Oh my goodness.
he's gone. Just leave him out of the equation at this point. And so, yeah, Newcastle have lost quite a bit of attacking threat, though they do have other players there. It's just like, how are you going to replace Isak at this point, man? With so little time left in the transfer window, who are you going to get to replace him? I've heard they could get
Wissa,
Strand
maybe?
Larson
I feel like
from
Wissa is.
Wolves. Wissa works as well.
I think that's most likely, but that's still
Yeah.
like that's being delayed a suspiciously long time at this point. That I don't even know if that's gonna happen now.
So what are they gonna do now? Like, I don't think Isak will leave the club before this game happens. I don't think he's gonna play
I mean, it
against
doesn't matter. He's not
Liverpool
playing.
either.
It's
He's not
gonna
playing,
affect the equation.
so it's unfortunate. But
The
they're
thing
gonna
is,
have
the
some
status
real
quo does
trouble
not
attacking.
work. The status quo is objectively not working because in that game against Villa, right? Like Anthony Gordon, okay, he showed that he can take on defenders in half spaces, but whether it was him or Harvey Barnes or like someone else that was in the central area, they were clearly lacking a box presence. Like how many of Newcastle's chances were actually in the box? I mean, like if you're just relying on like your wingers just to score bangers, you're not gonna get too many goals. I'm sorry. So the status quo does not work. They need a striker, but I don't know where they're gonna get it from. So if they do, it's not gonna be by the time this match is. And I think, I know Liverpool, they've had some defensive issues so far, but this is a question of their center backs. It's not a question of their fullbacks at this point. In terms of how Liverpool defends this. So yeah, honestly, I just don't see how Newcastle scores, man. Like, you're not gonna just beat Liverpool off of like long shots. You need somebody in the box. I don't even care if it's like that, if he's even that good. Wissa is like pretty good, but shit, put in like Nicholas Jackson at this point, man. You need someone. Put in fucking Dan Burn at this point. Like, I don't even know.
We're getting to like an Arsenal situation here. It's just
Yeah.
like, get any striker, any half decent striker. who
But
can,
Gordon is
like,
no Mikel
get some of
Moreno
your
is the
shots up.
issue. At least so far.
Yeah, I mean, you look at Liverpool. There were some defensive frailties in that win against Bournemouth, but there's a lot of attacking promise as well. I mean, we
Oh wow,
had
you're
18
really fine.
shots.
Did you just say Newcastle in their win against Bournemouth?
No, I said Liverpool. I
Oh
did
my
say
god,
Liverpool,
so I'm fried. So I'm fried. Okay, fair enough. No, all right, whatever.
Okay, 18 shots, 10 on target, expected goals of like 2.7, 2.8. I think it was a good showing. We demonstrated our firepower. We did outperform the XG quite a bit. Salah, Ekitike, Verts, of course, providing the attacking impetus. We talked about earlier how people are flaming Verts just like they're doing with all the strikers.
Wait, they're flaming Verts? What?
They are.
How can you flame Verts? He's been so good. Wait, he's been amazing. He's been like arguably Liverpool's best player this season so far. What?
You just
Excuse
need
me?
You need 3 goals on your debut.
Oh my
is
god.
what you gotta get.
Why?
I don't know
Why are
what
people
kind
like
of
this?
But
Wait, I swear. Wait, unironically, I think Verts has been their best player this season. Like, he was the best player in the Community Shield. He was really solid in this match against Bournemouth. I know he didn't like directly score. I don't even know if he had a direct goal contribution, but he was really solid.
he had an assist for Ekitike.
Oh yeah, I had a
yeah.
feeling, but I didn't want to say it just in case I was wrong.
Right. I think the only guy who's maybe played better than Verts so far is Ekitike.
Yeah,
Salah has been kind of a no-show in some games. He was all right this game. Shield was kind of questionable. Van Dijk.
He was actually. I think Salah was actually good in this game. I think because
I think he was decent. I think he was decent. Here.
I don't think he gets the assist, but I think his like cross creates the goal.
That's
So,
true.
yeah.
Yeah. But
I
like
don't
I
know.
think
People really just be hating for no reason.
Verts is for sure a contender for best player, but like
Yeah.
people hate watch, and I get it. It's hate watching for the sake of hate watching, but like pick a better player to hate on, man.
But yeah,
Honestly.
this is not even hate watch. This is just like hate sofa score statisticsing. Like I don't even know how can you say Wirtz is not playing well. I don't understand. Unless all you're looking at is this guy got there's no goals yet. By the way, actually I have one gripe. I looked at the sofa score match for the Community Shield. Wirtz had a 6.3 rating. By the way, 6.5 is the default. According to SofaScore, Wirtz had a below average performance in the Community Shield. SofaScore, fix your ratings. What the hell? What are you talking about? Well, what are you doing? But anyhow, I guess they're just looking at SofaScore. That's the only explanation. Because
Right.
Wirtz has been amazing, and you can't.
Apparently so. They're
be otherwise.
just not even watching the games. It's just sofa score at the end of the night.
Yeah, that's like I don't even like what else can it be? He's not like his goal isn't to score. He's not a striker, guys. He's a playmaker.
I don't even know what to say, man.
I think he got like more assists than goals last season. I think.
Yeah,
in the Bundesliga,
he did.
right? Yeah,
he did. I'm pretty sure.
So
And
like his main purpose isn't even to score goals.
people just expect goals. I guess I don't know. Yeah, like the Reds, they're gonna need to clean up on their own defensive end, but like the front line is strong, and we have Newcastle's kind of makeshift front line here. So like I don't think the defense will have as much of an issue as with like say Palace. Dropping two against Bournemouth is kind of questionable, but to be fair, it like Semenyo on his day, what are you even gonna do, man?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think this will be pretty comfortable for Liverpool in comparison to that last game where they had like they let Semenyo equalize and they had to claw their way back afterward. I think this game will be a bit more comfortable for us. Might kind of spoil my result, but you can imagine I've got the jersey on. Like I'm not gonna have us losing.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to just go ahead with predictions, or do you have anything else to say about Newcastle?
I mean, not really. If I do, I'm gonna be too fried to say it properly at this point anyway. So, I mean, shit. Let's just go in. Should I just predict first?
Yeah,
Then?
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think it's pretty simple. I think this is gonna be more like tempered than any of the matches we've had so far. In that, like all of Liverpool's games have just been batshit insane. Like the Community Shield, 4 goals, 6 goals in the first game of the Premier League. I think like Newcastle's offense is not as good in that they're missing a striker, obviously. But at the same time, Newcastle's defense is better than anyone else they've played so far. Besides maybe Palace, I think there's a good debate to be had there. But Tonali and Guimaraes are going to be blocking passing lanes. The back four is just generally solid. So I think it's going to be a more conservative, more like normal Arne Slot type of performance. So yeah, I don't think Newcastle will score. I think Liverpool will just get a solid, comfortable 2-0 win.
Okay, that's fair. I have like I think the attacking power it's just sharper for Liverpool than it is for Newcastle. The Magpies can have as much possession as they want, but without a natural finisher, they're gonna struggle to convert dominance into goals. I think Salah, Ekitike, they can find spaces behind Newcastle's defensive line. Wirtz's movement can pull defenders out of possession. Expect the Reds to test Pope early, and if they score first, it's going to force Newcastle into riskier play, which can let us score even more. I won't be the first to say that we look rusty, and I don't expect like a completely dominant game. I don't think we're going to shut out Newcastle completely, but their front line has practically been neutered. Ours is jacked up on steroids after an insane transfer window, and I just don't see Newcastle scoring that much, and I think we can get as many as they need. I'm actually going to predict Newcastle to score, but I'm going to give Liverpool 3. So it'll be the same margin as you. It's a 3-1 win for me.
All right. Fair enough then. Well, that's the episode, guys. That's 90 minutes.
Yeah, we have to cut this off now or it's going to get real bad for the last 30 minutes, man.
Yeah.
Okay.
We already cut off 20 minutes from last episode if you look at the time-wise, right?
Yeah, that's fair. Okay. I guess then we will see you guys for the next episode. I will say, just a disclaimer, I'm off on vacation in a couple days, so our next episode is going to be recorded before the match week 2 matches happen. So if our data is way off, that's just because we're working off of the first match week matches. Whatever transfers have happened, because I wouldn't even be surprised if a bunch more transfers happened in the next week and a half, and then also whatever there was in preseason. So we're kind of limited on what data we have to work with, but We're going to do our best, and we will have that video out for next week. So hopefully those predictions don't go to shit. We don't have like Eze, Mateta, Gahey all leave Palace at once in order to give
Right.
Nottingham a like 5-0 win. Hopefully it doesn't get that bad. But yeah, we'll see you guys next week for another set of predictions. Thank you for watching up to this point, and come again for the next episode of the CoDaKrew.
All right. See ya.